Cameron, thanks for being willing to get on a call with me and allowing
Yeah,
me to hit record while we talk.
absolutely.
Yeah, as you know, I really want to just talk about you and the story behind how Communicate.app started, and we'll get more into
Mhm.
that. But I just want to hear more about that. I guess before we get into that story, maybe just quickly introduce yourself and what Communicate app is. Briefly, we'll get into it more, but maybe you can just quickly
Sure.
introduce it.
Yeah, my name's Cameron Sanderson, born and raised in and around Fort Worth, Texas. So currently live in a city just south of Fort Worth called Burleson with my wife and my 4 kids. I work full time at a church in Fort Worth as a creative director. And so I've been a creative director, worship, communication space in church for about 20 or so years. I've been here for just over 10 years doing this. Love what I do. And really Communicate kind of birthed out of something that I was desperately needing for a long time here. So just in planning communications, we used a spreadsheet. Like that's how we tracked everything. That's how we shared everything. We knew what was happening. And I forever waited going, there's got to be a better way to do this. Searched high and low to find something and assumed someone would make something. So I waited and no one did. And then finally I decided like, I'm going to see what I can do. I did had background in some web development and thought, let me see if I can do something there. So that's kind of where Communicate birthed. It's like a tool to solve church communications, calendaring, scheduling, everything there.
Yeah, yeah. So everything that you want to do related to scheduling out all the communications that you do externally, is that right? The church or?
So it's a little bit of everything. So it's not
Okay.
exactly it's not a like a social publishing scheduling, like a Hootsuite
Yeah.
or, all various things like that. It's kind of all encompassing. Churches communicate inward to our people, whether you're passing physical bulletins, you got pre-service slides, you're doing announcements on stage, your emails, text, so much that we do and we communicate. And then
Mhm.
there is the outward that you mentioned. There's marketing, there's online, social, there's your website, and there's so many ways that we communicate and so many things we have to communicate
Hmm.
as church communicators. And so it's just a way of going, how do you take all of that and kind of find a simple way to view it, to understand it, to get your brain around it, and then to also bring your staff into alignment? Because as a communicator, you're kind of supporting them, their ministries, what they're doing. You're helping them communicate, or you're being the voice for them. And so it's like, how do you put all of that in one place that you can easily manage and move around and interact with? And for the longest time, Spreadsheet was the answer for us and for a lot of churches.
Yeah.
Spreadsheet. And it's still, if that's what you do, then go for it, own it, go after it. But I knew I spent way too long messing with a spreadsheet. I needed it to be quicker and easier. That's kind of where it birthed.
Yeah.
And of course, we've taken that concept and kind of just dug down deeper. Like, what more can it do? How more can it help free up our time? And so getting to be an actual end user of the product is really helpful because
Yeah.
I get into it and I will be scheduling things or working through things and I'll get annoyed at something, or I realize this isn't working the way it should. Like there's something we can do. And so I'm able to kind of tweak and learn. And of course, feedback from current users. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Well, cool. Well, I do have more questions about the app, but
Yes.
one thing I'm curious about is a little bit more into how you got here. So you've been in the church for a while, done various
Yes.
things, and then I heard you're also a coder. So you've done some of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how this all kind of came together to form Communicate.app.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like I
tell some more.
mentioned, it just birthed out of going, there has to be an app, a software, something out there that does this, and tried several things, realized I wasn't finding anything that helped or anything that was unique to the church space. So I thought, I know enough about code in terms of just developing web development.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to, at least I felt like I knew how to make things look good. I knew the way I'd want it to look for the user, but I didn't know how do I take this kind of thing that I can build that's probably more static and how to make it interactive for a user. How does it storing their data? How does the back end part work? I didn't know those things.
Yeah.
And so it kind of went to,
Can I ask you real quick question just
Yeah,
to kind of set
please.
up where you're going is when like you said you thought there should be this idea out there. About when was that? Or around the time frame, and when did you finally like decide, no, it's not out here. I'm gonna build this thing.
Yeah. So probably it was definitely pre-COVID that we were kind of digging into, at least in our church here, going spend 6 months or so on a tool, move from spreadsheet to tool.
Mm,
So I don't know, 2018, 2019, and then kind of uh, through COVID, just back and forth, kept jumping um, back to the spreadsheet.
mm.
So it's probably end of 2022, if I'm doing my math right, and into the beginning of 2023 is when I decided, like, I've waited long enough and I'm ready to see what I can do.
Yeah.
And so right about that time is, I'd been using AI for a bit, Chat GPT, just more in chats. The tools were really, really limited or non-existent back then.
Yeah.
It was jump into a chat and talk with it.
It's crazy how far
And
it's come,
so,
which we'll probably get into
yes,
that on this journey
yes,
here.
it's wild. I mean, it's just like like it just exponentially has gotten better. But I, felt like I was a fairly early adopter in AI. I love tools that help me work smarter and think better and be more efficient. So I kind of quickly jumped in and was toying with, how does this work? How can this help me? Um, and really, I started asking questions like, hey, here's this idea I have. Here's kind of what I know, but I don't really know much more beyond that. Like, I can take this and craft something that someone can look at, but how do I get it to work and function?
Yeah.
And it was giving me answers that I thought, wow, this actually could be something I could do. And so then I realized it was almost like there was this veil in front of me of, and maybe it was just, I don't know, lack of confidence maybe isn't the right word, but just unknowing, like there's some things that I need to learn in order to make this happen, and the gap between what I know now and what I need to learn to fully build this out is giant. But I realized AI can get me there way quicker and put me in the right directions and help me sift through decisions and things way quicker, so that way I can take what I know, layer in some of this AI, be smart about it. And so that kind of, once I realized I could do that, that kind of really jump started me diving in really deep.
Yeah. So was it a combination of, because this is how I've used it a lot recently, is, yeah, I'm not only asking it to like tell me what the answer is, right? Or like in your case, code this thing, but also asking, why did it do that? What does that mean? And like it can teach you, like you're saying, it's teaching you along
Yes.
the way as you're building. It's not just oh, here's the answer. Here's why the answer. So you can, like, if you're a curious person and you're interested in learning actually how this all works, AI
Yes.
is helping do that. Is that you as well?
Yes, absolutely. I would say, I haven't taken any training or courses or classes
Yeah.
in it, but just the sheer fact that I spent time, I dig in, I ask questions, it's kind of working through things, hashing out concepts and ideas. What I know now versus what I knew 3 years ago when I started,
Yeah.
it's vastly different. Still not an expert at all by any means, but it just really helped me progress in a way that I probably never would have. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing, is it helped me kind of take a leap into something that I maybe never would have, because I think pre-AI I would have said, oh, I can design stuff, I know what I'm looking for, and I would have gone online and tried to search, and I would have hit a brick wall
Yeah.
and been like, there's nowhere else I can go. I'm gonna have to spend tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to have someone code this for me. But really, AI was able to just kind of guide me along the
Yeah.
path to get there way quicker. And you kind of mentioned this. It's funny because I do think back to what I was doing when I first started 3 years ago, developing this, and and then what I can do now when I get on, and
Yeah.
so we spent about 2 years developing something that we felt confident enough to launch and bring on some beta testers. And then over the last year, we've switched from that to officially launching. But now the on-ramp could be way quicker compared to what it was
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah. Actually, you starting this 3 years ago and coding with AI, just knowing me personally, knowing how AI coding has progressed in the last 3 years, you had to be a decent coder 3 years ago. Still,
Mhm.
yes, AI was helping you, but I, you had to be pretty good to get that thing working.
Yes, yes, yeah. So I did two things. First off, I decided to go. I'm gonna dig into this AI thing and see what it can
Mm.
help me with. I also brought in a really good friend of mine who has a background. That's what he does. He's a software developer and a longtime friend. And kind of initially, as I was talking with AI, like it's one of my buddies, as I was kind of working through with AI where I could go, I brought him in kind of as a like a backbone of like, man, I like, is this telling me things right? Is this going the right direction? And so kind of brought him in, and he's been great because even in times when I've gone astray, he's been there looking, going, hey, like
Mm.
let's go back this way. Let's make sure we're kind of keeping in line. And so he's a huge part, and he's really kind of helped build a lot of kind of the back end systems where I've been more front end UI UX. He's been more back end, but yes, you mentioned what you had to do 3 years ago to get AI to do things for you in code versus now, vastly different. So I remember I would um, I would spend some time kind of coding a basic page layout. Like, hey, here's kind of how this UI, this page is going to look. I would I would go, okay, this part right here needs to be able to move. I need to click it and drag it, and it needs to save
Mm.
to a new spot. So I would get into VS Code, which is what I was using. I would pull a snippet of code, drop it into Chat GPT on the web, in my browser, and okay, here's this snippet. How, and I would explain, in super
Yeah.
long detail what I'm trying to do, and it would give me back out maybe like a slightly beefier snippet and
Yeah.
explain, okay, you need to go here and you need to copy this here, and I would go and do it, and I would be back and forth with that in this single chat to where it was it was running so slow by the time I was done, and I was barely through some features with this thing, and then I have to go, okay, this thing is running so slow, this one chat that I'm in, I have to jump into a new chat and start all over again. That was before context, before it knew it
Yep.
was saving things from chat to chat, and so that's what I was doing. Now I am grateful because, like I said, it really helped me learn a lot more
Yeah. Yeah.
than what I would have. So I really had to start back then asking more like, okay, here's what I've built, and I've coded it this way. Does this system work for what I want to do? And it would explain. I go, okay, so I want to be able to do this type of a concept. And then back then I didn't even know the terms or the words to use.
Mm.
And I would say, explain to me what it is I'm trying to do. Like, what's the terms? What's the industry standards? What are best practices? And it would hash it out. And I go, okay, now I think I'm understanding some of these things. And I ask it back. Okay, so here is what I want to do. It's just kind of like learning the process.
Yeah. That to me is like the perfect way of using AI. Just as a side note to like what you're doing here, I've heard a lot of people say, and I've seen studies done where the use of AI makes you, I don't think they use the term dumber, but it's essentially what they're saying is you become
Sure.
dumber if you use it, right? And I think this is the difference. I think the difference is if you ask it and you're just simply asking for a fact or feel like it's a fact and you just want it, you copy and paste it and who cares why it's the answer, I can totally understand how that makes you not smarter. But if you're doing what you're doing and you're actually using it to not just give you the answer, but understand how and why, what is all going on, that's just how you learn, right? I mean, what's the
Right.
difference between AI telling you how it works or going to watch a YouTube video or going to school? I'm not saying replace school, but like,
Right.
but I mean, that's how you learn, right? Is you just ask questions, you're curious, you learn, and you're building something that you want to build. And
Yeah.
I feel like there could be a huge future to learning this way.
Yes, I absolutely agree. You mentioned YouTube videos, which is a great source. But one of the things that AI helped me do is I was actively in working on a project with it
Mm.
versus watching a video or experiencing, watching what someone else is doing and then trying to
Yeah.
decide how does it work for me. I had a partner that I could kind of go back and forth with, do things, break it, mess it up,
Yeah.
go back, ask. And another thing too is if you're going to AI solely because you want an end product, you just want to give me something quick, get me out of there, it's probably going to make you dumb, and probably, probably the products that you're putting out are going to be pretty dumb. I didn't say that, but I did say that. But I think if you're going, and this is what I was doing, like, I want to build something that I care about, build something that is a real solution to a real problem that I have. I want to understand how it works and not just go, give me this thing and let me hope it works. But I want to go, how does this work? How do we craft it? How do we build it? And even back then going, how do I create something now that is a good for 5 churches, but that can scale to 500 churches to more. And so I really wanted to learn and get there quicker. That was the benefit of using AI.
Yeah, that's cool. So you launched about a year ago. How did launch go, and how has the last year gone?
So a year ago is when we kind of launched beta, and then we were there for 6 months, and then just under 6 months, back in October, is when we officially launched more publicly. And it's been great. We, ups and downs, it's a lot of learning, a lot of listening to what people are doing, because like I said, I use the product and I use it a certain way, but it's been fun hearing from the churches that are using it now and hearing like, hey, I'm doing this thing, or I was using a spreadsheet and it was doing this. We were doing it this way. Have you thought about this? And so hearing the way churches are using it has been really awesome, really exciting. And then just hearing their flows and the ideas they have for it. I think they're really excited about it, because I think like me, they felt kind of stuck in this kind of static spreadsheet world. And so they were excited to see something out there. So that's been really good. I think, some of the challenges have just been, education, I'm finding there are a lot of churches who are just kind of sprinting after communications. And it's kind of a week to week. And it's like, hey, we need to get our email out. We need to get our text out. We need to, the pastor needs this weekend. We're kind of sprinting. And I'm going, how can we help you? But how can we first get you to learn how to build a system, and to start thinking ahead and planning and scheduling. And when you're there, like, this tool is going to help you a ton. So kind of learning that there's actually a lot of churches who weren't even using a spreadsheet, or some kind of tool, so that's been challenging. And it's been growth, figuring out what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
Seeing churches jump on, try it out for a season and go, this isn't my thing, and then checking out, and I know that this tool it's going to be for some people and not for some people. And so learning that, has been something we've been doing over the last year.
Yeah, that, on that point of it's for some people, not others, you're kind of in this early stages probably of where you are trying to figure that out, right? Who is your target customer? Do you feel like you've figured that out so far yet? And it can be moving a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's still a little bit of a moving target, and it's still a little squishy. But we are narrowing it in. I think originally what I kind of thought, just broadly, was, okay, this product is just going to be for, there's a certain size church that's going to love this. They've got a lot going on. They've got a lot of products. A lot of communications that they're doing. This is just going to be a great tool for that church. And I've realized that it's not something for a church necessarily, but for a person or maybe even a team, because every person operates differently. They have they use systems differently. They use workflows differently. They like to think and plan differently. So I realized there are churches and people who love systems, love to plan, love to schedule. And if I can find those people, the people who go, I want our team to be aligned, I want to be clear about what we're communicating, those are the kinds of people that are going to love the system. But I think there are just naturally those kinds of people, those kinds of leaders who love to fly by the seat of their pants. You know what I mean? And that's fine. They maybe thrive in a little bit of
helps them. Yeah.
But I'm finding like there are churches who go, no, we want to do this and we want to do it well. And they either are on their way towards a system that works, whether it's rigging up a spreadsheet or a couple of tools, or they're in the middle of using something, who go, we want to do this really, really well, but we don't have a tool. We're doing content management here. We're doing planning here, our calendars here, our messaging's here, and really Communicate is the thing that kind of brings all of those together. So still refining it. I think there's nuance to that, who our target customer is, but we're narrowing.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, what's a big thing that you want people listening to know about Communicate.app?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. So I think the one thing I want people to know, and the one thing that I tell our team is, we are building something for the church and for ministry. The end game for us isn't to grow some giant company to hit some dollar. We're bootstrapped. We're doing this our own. We really believe in ministry and what churches are doing. And so I hope that anyone, even the people who come in and use Communicate and then decide this isn't the tool for them, I hope they come, they experience, and they leave going, even though it wasn't for me, they really cared about the church. They care about what they're doing. There were people behind the system, behind the code, that cared and wanted to help us. So ultimately, that's what I really, really hope that people see. And then on top of that, if they love it, I hope that they see that we're for them. We're constantly hearing from our people, taking feedback, feature requests, and we're trying to build something that really, really serves the church really well.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
And I'm loving every step of the way.
That's great. I can vouch for, the few times that we've talked, I can vouch for you being that type of person. So that's great.
Man, I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find you, the app, all that?
Yeah. So Communicate.app, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram at Communicate.app. This isn't going to be super, super exciting, but in terms of personally, I'm not really a social media guy.
I get it.
So,
I get it.
I can throw my handles out there. I think Instagram, it's probably been a good almost 10 years since I posted. And Facebook, I get on just because I have to sometimes.
Yeah.
But Communicate app, we're on. You can find us there. So
awesome.
Anyway.
Well, thanks, man. It's always good chatting.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate it, Corey.